Okay, welcome to the live. If you're on replay, I'm going to draw a V-Rex. I'm sure you'll see the finished drawing in the thumbnail, or I'll maybe edit this video and make a second video for YouTube where I'll have the finished drawing so you can draw along in the bottom left. So here we go. I'm going to start the drawing. Essentially, I start the sketch. I'm just going to mock in everything as far as the body goes. I'm going to try to draw the whole body very loosely with just the major shapes, just paying attention to what forms I need. As far as his head's going to be kind of this area, his body, this area, just kind of structure lines that'll just help placement of other things. So I'm just lightly using the side of the pencil and just trying to give myself a smaller box to kind of draw into. Essentially, I'm trying to take this big giant paper and break it down into smaller shapes that are more like the dinosaur. So, not even going into detail, I just kind of got big triangles and blocks, just trying to box out where things are going to be. So we got here, hand maybe, and then other shoulder. Key is not trying to draw anything super hard yet. You want to make sure that you're very light so you can change things if proportions are off or what have you. So once I feel confident in the shape and the structure, I can then start throwing in more details and getting more rendering into it. But right now I'm just trying to make sure I like how it's coming along and boxing it. And so essentially I got the rough outline now, kind of the stick figure loose stage. So now I can come in and start working on different spots. So maybe I know that like the light is going to be coming this way, so maybe this side of him is going to be darker, underbody is darker, so I can just start even using the side of the pencil and just blocking in shadow. I don't even have to draw lines, just have to know that where's the shadowy spots. So I'm just adding in some shading that kind of can sometimes help build the drawing, because then you're not worried about getting precise lines yet. So just kind of working on the shadows. Okay, maybe I like how it's turning out, and I go. See, I think the V-Rex kind of has this head shape like this, more tall. Okay, so I got a little bit of the shadow now. I'm going to start coming in with some finer lines and just putting some placement for some structure like the hands. Don't want to draw your attention to the hands, because usually it's I don't like to spend a whole lot of time on them, so I don't try to get them too perfect. So I want them more in the shadow. I don't want there to be too harsh of a detail into it. The more harsh lines, the more detail you put into something, the more your eye is drawn to it. So if you have struggling with like drawing certain things, sometimes it's better to just draw very loosely and until you need to, because like the focal point isn't going to be the hands, even though I drew them first and I drew them real fast. The focal point is going to be the face. So like I'm going to put more detail and more pencil pressure in the face than I will anywhere else. So it's just easier to do it that way and work. So I'm just working from the all around the whole canvas at this point. So okay, so I'm gonna work on the feet, things that are So the hands you can kind of get away with because they kind of stick to the body and they can be in the shadow. But since the feet kind of stick out, it sometimes will help if you can draw them, because if you can't draw the feet, that kind of does stand out a little bit more. But it's all right. I'm just kind of loosely putting in just kind of big chicken feet. So you got that little weird toe. It's always on the inside. So you got that little weird toe. Okay, so we got. Probably won't see that nail on the other side of this one. So, do you want to show the illusion of it? Here, now I know where the arm is. I'm going to put this leg in darker because I want it to be further back. That way I don't have to detail as much of it. But pushing and pulling things is kind of nice to do. So by making this darker, the underbelly darker, I can kind of get away with not having as much detail and things. So like the hands, see how they're just kind of blending into that leg because it's all the same value. I want to make sure that I work the whole drawing. So I got mid-level grays. Right now I'm only using number 2 pencil. Not getting too fancy with anything yet. But I want to. So here's the center line of like the breast. So I want the neck to kind of come to it. That's just a structural line really, and I can erase it. I want to kind of use that as my shadow points. The nice thing with using number 2 pencils, I'll let the scratchiness of it kind of give it the texture of the dinosaur. So now that I got that, I can maybe throw placement for eye, placement for the nose. So maybe we'll start putting in some teeth. I kind of cartoon it. I like putting in on this V-Rex, the teeth sometimes come up and over, which is kind of a weird thought. Like your teeth are exposed above the lip. Usually they're tucked underneath the lip, but like it looks kind of cooler to have the teeth just kind of living on the outside. It's just a weird kind of feature that they had in the 2005 King Kong movie. But hey, it seems like I could catch your stream for a bit. Oh, nice. I've yeah, just going live. I didn't realize I could see the comments in the bottom. Last time I did a live, the comments weren't coming in. I had to like scroll over to the side. So I'll try to look here and there, but I'm just drawing. Hopefully, just this one dinosaur. Both my kids are taking a nap simultaneously, so it worked out, but it's not always the case. So these V-Rexes, they have a lot of bumps to them. So it's kind of fun to kind of build them up. Thanks. Okay, so now I'm using like the weight of the pencil to kind of show depth or more darkness. So like the top I'm gonna hit with probably some white chalk at the very end to lighten up these lines. But when I talk about weight of a pencil or weight of a line, it's like the dark and thickness and of a line. So typically things that are getting hit with light have lighter lines and finer lines. So you want to have a little less, I guess, bold line to them. It just helps like give the weight to them. So like if you make a harsh line down here, your eye is anchoring it. So you want, that's why it's kind of like a weighted line, or yeah. So big thing to think about early on in the drawing is just like the overall shapes and tones. So that's why I kind of worked with the side of the pencil at the very beginning and just trying to get the shadows. sometimes it helps if you're able to take a step back and just look at it from afar. It's a good trick. Or if you're able to, like if you're drawing in a program, you can usually flip it, but you can also take a picture and you flip it, or look in a mirror. So like if you use a mirror, you can see if you got things off. It helps let you know if the eye is too high or off. Sometimes when you're drawing, you kind of get lost in the drawing and you don't realize that certain key features were screwed up, and you might get super far in the drawing and then not actually like it at the very end, and you have to erase a lot of detail work, or you put a lot of effort into something and you decide to crumple it up and get rid of it, which is the worst. So to avoid that, sometimes it's just nice to look in mirrors and step back a lot early on, which if you're filming your video like I am here, the little image in my camera is good enough. It's just as good as stepping back. It's like it's already doing that for me, so I can kind of get an idea of like, should I have done certain things. So like my reference image is a toy, and like the chest in that toy, for the weight of it, is more of an angle down. So actually it's just should be here. So maybe I might, since this hand is drawn pretty light, I might do that. I might take this pencil here, and instead of erasing, I might just make it all in shadow and bring it down more. Just add the arm with this, and it doesn't have to be too crazy detailed because it's not drawing your attention. We were trying to keep the attention at the face, so we don't want to put in many details and things that add zero value. So I'm just using this number 6B pencil. Now it's a little bit more darker than a 2B, so it's going to show up more on camera. It's going to make the weighted lines even more. It's just easier to shade with this style or with this kind of pencil. It's a softer lead, so let's see. Typically I'll have done a warm-up sketch just to get the arm moving, just because if you do a warm-up sketch, then you're more likely to do better on your first go at the next sketch. So the more drawings you do before you go and jump into a final project drawing, the better. But I didn't do any warm-ups before this, so it's kind of just like going on the fly, which is fine. I've done this for quite a bit, but it's not like to put shadows where the skull was. So like you get the eye pockets. If I imagine where the skull would have been underneath, so just gonna anchor it in. Light's coming down in this way, so okay, so we got, it's turning out to be a little bit better. Just trying to figure out where the legs go. Just so I already determined that far side is in the shadow, so so that's dark. I want this to be dark. Okay, so I'm just kind of drawing at 100 miles an hour if I can. I like to move as fast as possible. Mainly these drawings are done on computer paper, and I'm just doing them for practice and fun, so it's just the faster I can pump them out, the more practice I can get. So the more drawings I can potentially do. Although this, based on how my kids are napping today, I think I'm gonna only be able to get this drawing done, but it's already fairly not close to done, but it's fairly far along already. So I might color this. Okay, so we got working on it. Okay. So now that I got the sketch part down, I'm going to come in and maybe throw some ink. I'm going to use a 05 micron, and I'm going to ink some of the spots. His eye and nose. Let's go to the ink. It's more like tracing my lines that I had before. But I add some more details. Especially with the teeth here, I can, once I get them inked in, then I can go erase and make them a little bit brighter. They kind of get muddy using the pencil all over the place. So just a matter of getting the lines down first and getting all the shadows established. Once that's all established, then it's easier to kind of determine, like, I guess, where the ink can go. So this is a V-Rex from King Kong, the 2005 movie. Just kind of like the design of those. They're kind of bigger and just a little bit more bulkier than like the Jurassic Park T-Rexes, and just have a different look to them. So I figured I just draw the Jurassic Park style, and it's like, yeah, let's do V-Rex. I feel like the bumpiness adds a little bit more to them. And if you happen to be watching the replay or this live, I consider hitting the like button. It helps get this pushed out to more people. But yeah, eventually, I think I'll turn this into a YouTube short. I got my second camera filming it also, so I can take the image or take this video, speed it up, and post edit. But I figure if you're around, sticking around or whatever, and you see a live pop up, I figure if you want to see how it's done real time and how I bounce around before I speed it up, it's kind of fun to see the process, even if you only stick around for a few minutes. So no, drawing can get boring, I think, if you just watch somebody. It's like watching paint dry, but at least here to answer questions if there is any. So I got the fine pen kind of figured out and marked in. Maybe use it to get some of this smaller areas. Then I'll switch to a little thicker black pen that can get a little bit more weighted lines, like I was talking about before, darker, heavier black lines without having to go over it as many times. So I'll switch to that now. So I like to use these chisel graphic Pigma markers, then maybe like Micron. I guess the last one was considered a Micron because it's so small, and now these are Pigma. I think the brand is Pigma. Yeah. Everyone always talks about Micron, but in reality, I think it's Pigma that makes the Micron. So it's like, but no one ever wants to say Pigma. They always say Micron. But the nice thing about these, if you can see, I can get a heavy black line, and I can get thin lines if I go on the corner, but I can really get a dark weight of a line. And I can kind of taper it too if I use the corner. Okay. So I'm gonna Okay, so here I'm just trying to establish the darkest darks with the pen. So I know that it's looking pretty good. As far as just the sketch goes. Now, they're blue in the movie, but I just refilled my chartreuse. So I'm going to make this one green. This chartreuse I overfilled with a Copic, so it's like dripping. So I'm just going to kind of let it run out. I like to, if you ever have Copic markers, or if you ever use them, you're supposed to use a scale and weigh them ahead of time, and then only fill them to a certain gram or weight. Obviously I didn't do that with this one. I just kind of just filled until I felt like it was full, but the problem with that is then you overfill it, and if you overfill it, if you're using the marker occasionally, like once it's overfilled for a few drawings or sketches later, it might just let a pool drip out the tip of the pen, and then it could ruin, like if you're trying to get a fine detail, like going around these teeth here is dangerous, because it might just, a puddle of ink might just come out of the tip of the pen. So that's the one downside, I would say, to Copic markers, is if you do refill them, they can be less in the long run, but they are more expensive to start to get into. But if you don't keep proper care of them, which if you're only drawing every once in a while, you can really ruin a drawing or ruin something if you don't fill them properly, and or like me, keep proper care of them. So I'm just using this to get a blanket cover, like I said, and since I just filled it, trying to just get some of that ink that's in the marker out, so the next drawing I do, it doesn't pool out. So I like using this chartreuse color. It's like a lime green, just because it's a light color, and then it's easier to work on top of things. Have you noticed, like the marker, when I'm going over like some of the graphite, it's getting the gray tones. It's picking up on that. So using 6B and 4B pens kind of can help get different tones on the paper too. And you can see the pencil sketches through it, so it gives it a little texture that you wouldn't get if you erased all that stuff. I forgot to do this hand. Okay. So I got most of him green, kind of just giving me Toy Story Rex vibes. Just a little bit different of a look, but yeah, it's got Toy Story Rexy vibe. Even though the reference is kind of a Jurassic Park V-Rex toy that somebody set up and took a picture of and posted to Instagram. That's kind of how I find my references. Is I just go through and pick out random images and save them to a folder and use them for reference for drawing later. They won't necessarily be straight up images from movies. Sometimes they will, but like find like the movie images kind of get overdone a million times. So everybody's seen. Just take a common one like the Jurassic Park busting through the fence like image. It's like there's only so many times you should or could draw that over and over again before it gets to be too old. So I try to change it up and get different angles on things. Okay, so now I'm gonna add a little bit of this tan toast color to the underbelly. Trying to get a little bit of brown into it for this image. Maybe some of the hands, into the legs. Just trying to bring in different colors. The more layers you put of marker on there, the more depth it'll feel. Like if I put stripes or wrinkles, just following the contours of all the shapes, it'll translate to the next layers as they get darker and darker. All right, maybe use a pale blue here. Now the dinosaur in the movies is blue, and I filled this one too, so I got quite a bit of marker problems as far as ink goes. So I need to get this to go stretch. It's a good thing I'm doing this drawing. It's primarily using these colors because it allows me to get the overfilled ink out of the marker in spots where I'm not trying to do fine detail work. Because if I was, like I said, the ink could have just blown out like that and ruined like all the teeth or something. So by me doing it right in the center where I knew it would be okay, it's okay that it exploded like it did. Since this is just computer paper, it's not a big deal if I'm throwing it away or not, you know. So just coming in with a different brown, just a little darker, like a cashew was the color, but just put in more lines. It's all about building up more layers and more look at. Just one layer is kind of boring, 2 layers is okay, more layer. Sometimes there's, once you get to like 5 or 6 different colors, then it kind of gets to like you hit a wall, or like the more colors you add doesn't necessarily mean better. So there's a limit, but it's just kind of walking that line, trying to see where you should push it. So I'm gonna add some darker grays just to differentiate. Like this is already dark, but maybe push some things a little bit darker. This is a little darker than that C5 that I was using. This is C7. Just fun thing about these kind of drawings is you kind of make them up as you go. I use references for the sketch part, but once I get to the coloring part, I just kind of have at it. It's like a coloring book then. I should almost, before I color them, I should almost, once I get the grayscale or something ink done, I should take a picture and make them into coloring books. If that's something people are interested in, maybe I'll look into doing that in the future, but right now I just kind of draw it, I have fun, so. Okay, so now right now he kind of looks like he's just floating there, you know? He's not grounded, so I'm going to use a lighter gray, maybe like a W3, so he's warm and cool grays, so this is a warm gray. It looks like I must have refilled this one and overfilled it too, because it's bleeding a little bit. Seems to be a trend, but using this warm gray, I'm just gonna hit the ground right where he is, just to anchor him to the floor. Maybe a little bit of this C5. Let that bleed into the other ink. Really kind of grounds it a little bit even more. So now it looks like he's on the ground. So now I like to come back once I get far enough. In a second here, I'm gonna add some contrast. So I like the pink for the eyes sometimes, and maybe put some opposite colors. So you got greens and blues, pinks and reds would really pop on this guy, but like would make more browns. So like in areas like the eyes, maybe pink, and like your eye will be drawn to it, but like the eye is so small in this guy, you probably can't see. And come back with some white pen, just highlight some of the teeth. Could erase the pencil, but it's just as easy to go in with white pen too and put a little dot. You don't need to get super sharp detail in the teeth. If I do, then I have to really detail out everything. Try to get the same amount of detail in almost all of the piece. If I go too detailed here, I got to do a little bit detailed here. I mean, I try not to go over detailed in one area too much, but it's hard not to do. Just sign it before I get too far. Because once I start using the chalk kind of, it's tough to go with the ink over the top. At least the ink, those flat tips, they're more like markers and they dry out when you hit like chalk. So I'm gonna hit the eraser now and just clean up some of it before I start going with the chalk. I like to use a white chalk, like New Pastel, or just white chalk alone is good. I'm just gonna clean up some of the lines that are outside of the drawing. Just using a kneaded eraser right now. Helps. Maybe kind of like that one errant tooth that I erased. This one, yeah. Just throw it there, just to get a weird shape. And yeah, now I'm gonna hit the drawing with the top of it to get the line weight a little bit less obtrusive, and just hit the top where you'd be getting hit with light with some chalk. I'm not using a whole lot, but I'm just going over the edge. Rub it in a little bit. Maybe some right there on his top of his jaw. Maybe just throw in little spots. I don't need to go too crazy, but the goal is with this chalk, it also takes some of the high definition out from the body that's not in focus. So sometimes it is nice to just add it to anything in the background because it can take some of the vibrance out of the image. That way you're not trying to draw too much attention to something that is further away, because as things get further away, you can't see as much detail on them. So this is literally just white, so I'm not adding any other colors, just kind of doing the white over the top. I can come back and if I need to, like, get things more vibrant, I can erase, I can make things darker again by getting rid of some of the chalk, but it just depends on where and what and how I want to do that. Like if I get that, I can bring some of the lines back. I can get. It's a nice thing about having a kneaded eraser is you can push and pull the vibrance of everything. So kind of liking how it's turning out. Want the bottom to still be dark. Okay, it's pretty good. Hopefully, if you're watching, you like that too. If you're watching live, otherwise, if you're watching the replay, tell me how you like it. Let's see, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think I can add some grass to this and maybe call it a finished drawing. Awesome. I like using the side of the marker and just getting these illusions of grass blades, tufts of grass. And sometimes with the new pastel, I'll even hit just a little bit of green. Okay. Well, been drawn for 40 minutes. I think that's pretty good. Thanks for if you tuned in, watching this live. And tune in for the next one. Like I said, I'm filming this on the side, so maybe you'll see a replay. Maybe I'll do narration or make this a YouTube video. But you can always follow this, see the replay of it on my channel. So if you can't tune into any of the random times I go live, always check out my old lives. So, all right. Thanks for watching.